Greetings and welcome to Stop the Freakout, Lead Yourself and Others through this and any crisis. I'm Christopher Avery, CEO and founder of the Responsibility Company. And we are doing this because there's two pandemics going on in the world right now. One is a microorganism and the other is anxiety. And we don't know much about infectious disease control except what we learned from others. But what we do know about is we know about how to respond to anxiety. We know how to increase that space in our minds between stimulus and response so that we can operate from powerful freedom and choice. And we are doing these webinars as a gift to you, to do exactly what our purpose is in the world. And our purpose is to bring the fabulous responsibility process, information and tools and thinking and mindsets to the world so that more people in the world can operate with freedom, choice, and power. And so my goal today is to talk with you, find out what uncertainties are on your mind, what are you dealing with, what are your concerns, your fears, your paranoias, your anxieties. Those things are all real, they're all true, we all have them. They hijack our minds emotionally and keep us stuck and keep us from being effective. And my goal is to work with as many of you as possible today during this time to help get things unstuck and move forward. So this is not a presentation, no PowerPoints, no promotions, nothing to sell, just doing our work here. So right now, please write down on a piece of scrap paper something in front of you, or if you want to put it in the chat, please write down one huge upset, anxiety, uncertainty, fear, challenge, mountain that looks too big to climb, a problem that you're chewing on and wish you didn't have to chew on it. Please write it down. I don't want to go silent for a long time, so keep writing as I talk. Just jot down a few words about it, either on a piece of paper or in chat. And now, I want you to write down as many wins as you can think of from today, last night, yesterday, this week. A win is an intention met. A win is not a size. A win is anything I intended to happen and it did happen, or anything I intended to not happen and it didn't happen. So many people with responsibility practices think of 5, 10, 25 wins before we even get out of bed in the morning. So yesterday I intended to go out in my backyard and get some exercise by pulling this big, long, sticky weed that grows in my backyard. And it can only be pulled out and gotten rid of, otherwise it spreads the seeds. So I did a whole bunch of that. That's a win. Yesterday, I intended to get everything set up for this webinar today, and I did. That's a win. Yesterday, I intended to have a lot of social interaction with my team and friends via Zoom, Skype, other ways, and I did. That's a win. I intended to have an incredible night's sleep last night and wake up feeling fresh this morning, and I did. That's a win. So post your wins in the comments, in the chat. And as you do that, now here's my question. Which is more profound in your mind right now? The fact that you're winning or the fact that you're losing? Right? So the cool thing is that the responsibility process refers to that pattern in our minds that gets triggered every time something goes wrong, big or small. And we start at the bottom and our minds get hijacked. And through all of these mental states, we feel like victims, we feel powerless, we feel trapped, we feel like there's nothing we can do. And in this mental state of responsibility, we feel free, powerful, and at choice. And all of these mental states are available to us all the time And my work is about helping people recognize the lower states, catch yourselves in it, and get to the upper state of responsibility. And the experiment we just did is that we can focus on our anxieties and our fears, and we can focus on our wins. When we focus on our wins, we tap into responsibility because we tap into our intention and our power in making things happen, even in small ways. So a win doesn't have a size. A win is an intention met. So I am ready to move along with you. Let me see. Create an intention for this call, if you like. I have an intention to serve and to be as powerful as possible in doing that. That's my intention during this time. And I think Susan has already asked you to check in with where you are today. And Susan, do we have somebody ready to come talk to me about what's going on in their world?
Nobody yet.
Okay, then I'll just be quiet until somebody is ready. So I want to hear from you. Tell me where you are, what's happening in your world. What fears, uncertainties are people dealing with? Or maybe I'd ask this, what are you hoping to get out of this call? So everything's perfect. Awesome.
Oh no, Christian Beck is
Beautiful.
coming your way.
Excellent.
All right, Christian, or if you're able, we would love for you to start your camera if you've got one.
Here's my camera.
Hi, Christian.
Hi, Christopher.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, tell me what's on your mind today.
Well, that's the first day I switched to home office. And I live in a house with my wife and 2 kids. And they are out of school for a week already. And we try to really change our entire life, because now we will be together, the 4 of us, for the upcoming weeks or months. We just don't know.
Correct.
And we have to maintain to work. For the kids, work means learning. For us, work means doing the home office work. And I think that's going to be a challenge. I mean, also a chance. Maybe we will learn a lot. But at the same time, although our house is reasonably large, I fear a little bit that we, not being able to meet other people as much as we are used to do, and seeing only the 4 of us and being kind of trapped. Yeah, my fear is that we feel trapped a little bit. So yeah, that's probably a situation that many people face at this very point in time. But that's also my personal situation now.
Thank you for expounding on that. So if in terms of thinking about if your fear is being or feeling trapped and for an uncertain amount of time, right? Does that fear, do you think, put you above the line or somewhere below the line?
At times it's above, because I feel strength when I talk to my wife, and we together, by talking, we get the feeling that we are strong. And then at other instances, there are some setbacks, and it's easy to go below the line. So because it's our first week, it feels a little bit like a series of small wins, and then with the setbacks, and so, and yeah, that's stressful, what makes it a little bit stressful.
Yeah, beautiful. Congratulations for recognizing that, and thank you. So for everyone listening, I want to develop that a little bit according to the tools of the responsibility process. So the responsibility process is a pattern in our mind that kicks in every time something goes wrong. And there's nothing we can do about this pattern. We're all human. And somehow, however whether were designed by a great creator or whether we were designed through evolution from protozoa and plants and animals, we were designed for this process to get triggered every time something goes wrong. So there's a couple of secrets in there. One is view more things as perfect, and we won't get triggered by this. And so one question might be, what's perfect about this situation? But that might be a little over the top to think about what's perfect. That's kind of an advanced approach to responsibility, based in the fact that the more judgmental we are, the more we see the world as right and wrong, good and bad, the more the responsibility process is going to be triggered in us. So I turn my attention to the 3 keys to practicing responsibility. And these 3 keys are on the back of the poster that everybody can download from responsibility.com. The keys are intention, awareness, and confront. And these 3 keys are all mental abilities that you and I were born with, Christian, and your wife was born with them, and your kids were born with them. But parents and teachers and education systems don't develop these powers of intention, awareness, and confront in us. We don't tend to develop these mental powers of intention, awareness, and confront until we get into leadership development programs, personal growth programs, or spiritual growth programs later in life. So what you're raising is, number 1, is what I would call the power of confront. And the power of confront says that you keep confronting your fear, and what that means is you actually allow yourself to feel the fear and feel the anxiety, and you check in around how much of it is real. So what's interesting about fear is fear comes from our reptilian brain, which was designed for flee, freeze, flight, or flight, fight. And it's actually not nearly as helpful today in an abundant world where you and I have shelter, we have food, we have a fair amount of health care, right? So right now there's nothing to freeze from, flee from, or fight, yet this fear still comes up. So confront means the ability to face. Confront doesn't mean to be aggressive towards other people. In this case, it means the ability to face. So for me, when my roller coaster does this, and my roller coaster does, that's when I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror and say, okay, Christopher, what's true about this situation? What's true? Oh, well, what's true is we get to explore what it's like being in our house with all 4 of us here for an uncertain length of time. That's what's true. And then what we also get to learn is that we are really, really good at making up things to be afraid of. Okay, so what if this happens? What if that happens? Et cetera. And especially many of us with a project management background, we're really good at inventing risks. And it's one thing to have contingency plans, but it's another thing to see everything in the world as a risk and have it scare us. So the roller coaster that you describe, I think, is perfect, because now the work is to have an intention to spend more time going up and less time going down. More time going up, less time going down. When you're going up, it's because you're stepping into your fear or anxiety, which means you're actually operating in that mental state of responsibility. And you're feeling powerful and you're feeling creative. And then you have a thought of something wrong and you go, right? And awareness, the awareness key is about realizing that and saying, okay, self, pull up, pull up, pull up. So I'm going to stop there and invite you to come back and see if any of that is meaningful.
Yeah, I think I understand. To accept the situation as it is, including the feelings, and then look at from a little bit from the outside to yourself and accept that you are in that situation, and then find one step to change something again, and maybe one step upwards, or instead of freeze, flee, or fight, first do nothing and accept and realize what's happening and what did not happen, and then maybe start talking to someone. That's often a chance to get a new perspective.
Yeah,
But this is also often the thing that, depending if, for example, talking to someone who's totally who you don't know, like I don't know you, it's sometimes easier than talking to someone, like your wife, where you have this common patterns, and that you more are likely to activate, and it's difficult to circumvent this patterns. You know what I mean, I think.
Right.
It
So
requires more courage sometimes to talk to your best friend than to talk to someone who is really a foreigner to you. It's funny, but it's,
that's true. That's probably because we have fewer expectations of others, and we have more expectations of ourselves with those people who are important to us, I would guess. But what I want to reinforce what you said is, you said accept what you can't change. I would say it a little differently. See things as they are. Right? So one of the reasons that it's so difficult for humans to change is because when change happens, there's a deep part of us that denies it, that says, oh no, it can't be true, it's horrible, it's wrong, it's bad. So as long as we're doing that, then we are stuck and we're powerless. And the faster we can look around us and see, oh, this is real, right?
Yeah.
The faster we can look around and see things as they are, then the faster we can get back to a mental state of freedom, choice, and power. It doesn't mean that we have to prefer to be separated from each other. It doesn't mean that we have to prefer to be not earning a living, or it doesn't mean that we have to prefer to have stores with empty shelves. It doesn't mean that we have to like it. It just means that we have to look at it and say, what's true about this? And that's, that space between stimulus and response is, breathing and looking ourselves in the mirror and saying what's true about this is opening up that space. So when we judge and evaluate everything, what happens is we close that space. We have a stimulus and then we have a reaction. Bad, wrong, horrible, afraid, anxious. And opening that up puts us in a place of power and choice. So Christian, thank you very much. My wish for you is that you and your family practice naming wins, right? So if you're spiritual, that could be having a gratitude practice. What are we grateful for today? Even small things. But the psychological practice is just claiming wins, right?
Thank you. Yes.
Win is an intention met, right?
Mm-hmm.
We intended to get everybody home in our house safe. Win. We intended to take over learning for the kids. Win. We intended to be able to do our jobs from home. Win.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Thank you, Christian. Let me know how it goes. Manfred,
Yeah.
Hi, Christopher.
how are you?
Yes, I'm fine.
Good.
Yes, in the moment I've not very much anxiety. I do pray together with my wife, and yes, we don't worry about very much about the situation. But I experience one interesting thing, or get aware of one interesting thing. I had not much power to do something, to try new things. And this remembered me on at a very famous social study in 1930 near Vienna in Austria. There was a little village, and in this village, from one day of another, a big company with more than 1,000 people is shut down because of depression. And scientists look at the people, how they behave. And it was very interesting that most people, it was not possible for them to do anything with the time in this situation. They have a big library, they had a lot of clubs, sport, theater groups, but everything shuts down after they had no work. They had no work. And this reminds me, maybe you can also go in some situation where you are restless, where you are anxious to try new things. You're a little paralyzed, or how would you say, so you have not the power to try new things. And this awareness helped me to reflect about the situation and go out of this situation. And so I set up a Zoom call for today where we can meet in the church with other people which are in the same situation and come together like this group, help each other, pray together, and get out of this,
Right.
confront the problem.
Yeah. So if I were to summarize what you said is that studies show that when events like this happen and people's normal lives get interrupted, then the majority of people don't know what to do.
Yes.
And don't know how to respond.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I believe that you and I, as students of the responsibility process, I believe that we understand that. And I believe that we know that what the responsibility process and our tools are about is about changing that thought from I'm powerless to do anything to I intend or I am powerful to do lots of things, or if not, I intend to be powerful by this afternoon to do lots of things. Right? So I am powerless is below the line. And I am powerful is above the line. That study, so I'm going to go to awareness here and to confront. Right? So that study happened after society had become abundant in fulfilling the majority of our needs. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Our safety needs met, our biological needs met, our needs to be part of groups met, right? So today, most of the planet lives in an abundant society, and that abundance is increasing. And unfortunately, society has also taught us that we can turn our needs for keeping ourselves busy over to them, and they will entertain our minds and entertain our spirit, and we don't have to think for ourselves. And so I think this is a tremendous opportunity for those of us who are teachers and practitioners of responsibility to say, take back your life, right? Before there was great societies, we didn't sit around in caves or tents or huts or whatever saying, gosh, I can't go to work today. I don't know what to do. Right? We were too busy finding something to eat. We were too busy staying alive. Right? So this space, so for me, when I look in the mirror and say, wow, I can't go out and convene, I can't go out and meet people. Not that I can't, I could if I want to. I choose not to because I believe what they're saying about social distancing. Right? So here I get to be at home, mostly by myself. Right? What's true about this? Well, what's true about this is I can do this. I can do this. I have books, shelves full of books. Right? Gosh, I still have electricity, running water, and internet. I have projects. I have stuff that needs painting and weeds that need pulling and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to push back a little bit on your statement that you're powerless. And I'm going to say you're also powerful, and you're powerful enough to think that you're powerless. That's my straight talk.
I think the interesting part is that it's really like the mind and the body is a little bit shut down. It's not something where you like in the responsibility process where you can reflect. It's really like a physical, mental, physical state where you really shut down. This is not so easy to overcome, but
yeah. So my belief about that, Manfred, is it's still due to a thought. Right? That's still due to a thought, a cognition, an idea that something is wrong. And you and I are free to identify our thoughts and change our thoughts. That's why the keys, again, intention, awareness, and confront. What intention means, what do I want? Oh, I'm feeling powerless. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling, tired, fatigued. I'm feeling stressed, right? Oh, what do I want about this? Right? Is the intention question, not what should I do, but what do I want? Oh, well, I want to feel alive. I want to feel awake. I want to feel free. I want to feel powerful. Yeah. So thank you for your demonstration of responsibility. I know that you're a fabulous teacher of responsibility. And I appreciate your courage in coming on and letting me poke you a little bit, as I know you knew a poke might be coming. Since that's what we do, is we give another practitioner permission to poke us. That's part of the confront, part of the intention, awareness, and confront. So thank you for that, Manfred. And I look forward to your continuing support for your family and your church and your business and everyone that you demonstrate responsibility in front of and teach responsibility to.
Thank you very much, Christopher.
Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Susan, who's next?
Well, I'm going to represent the next person, if you don't mind. She is home with small children and no video. But okay. I'm going to read to you from the chat. The Swiss franc, this is A. Sladowska. I hope I'm not butchering your name. The Swiss franc is getting high, and I'm not sure we can keep up with the mortgage. Anna's being stuck at home with 6 years old with inexhaustible energy, trying to work remotely. It's really frustrating. I'm not able to focus on being a mom, housewife, or employee. She did share some wins. All the critical tasks are done. The kid is healthy and fed. House is still standing. And I found some time for this webinar.
Yay! Congratulations. Thank goodness for small wins. Oh, my heart goes out for you. It sounds like you're single parenting, 6-year-old inexhaustible energy. I can read what Susan was reading to me in the chat. trying to work remotely, not able to focus on being a mom, housewife, or employee. So yeah, my heart goes out to you. Thank you for coming here today. So I'm searching for the best thing to say to you. Ideally, I'd like to talk with you so I can understand more. And the reason is that the psychology of responsibility is very precise. And so I would be asking you questions about what specifically your mind is on right now and what's stopping you, or where you stuck, or what's your fear, very specifically. So I'm left to speak in generalities. And I might say this. Number one, I just bought a home. I also have a renter in my home that I depend on for paying half the mortgage. I have no idea if that renter is going to be able to pay their share. So that means the size of my mortgage could double in terms of what I have to come up with. You know what? I'm not afraid. My mortgage company does not want to demand my payment. In fact, I'm reading stuff in the news every day about mortgage companies deferring payments during this time. So there's an amazing thing that happens in times like this, and that is that people who are in business and people who rely on paying others and being paid, the majority of them become very giving and very forgiving, and they realize that this is a time not for being greedy and not for grabbing everything they can from a scarcity mindset. They know that good times will come again right around the corner. They always, always, always do. If they don't, this will be the first time in the world that they don't, right? And so what happens here is just what's happening with you and me as individuals is organizations and businesses band together to be very giving, very cooperative, and very lenient in figuring out how to help their customers get through. So, you know, perhaps you can adopt my point of view, and that is that your mortgage company is going to figure out how to not want to take your house away, because your mortgage company is in the mortgage business. They're not in the real estate business, and they don't want your home. They want to figure out how to stay in the mortgage or the banking business. In terms of balancing your remote work and child and being mom and housekeeping, again, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you're able to have these conversations with your 6-year-old, but more likely with your work. And in my case, I am doing everything I can to allow everyone that works with the responsibility company to allow them all the space they need to handle whatever's up in their life right now. And at the same time that we're pivoting and we're innovating, and these webinars that we're doing is taking a lot of time and work that we didn't plan on doing. So at the same time that that's happening, we're also saying to everybody, you know, take care of yourself, take what time you need. There's plenty of work here. It'll still be here later after the kids are fed and after you take care of your fitness and your health. So if you can't have that conversation at work, then I'm very, very sorry. And I would encourage you to think about a year from now, working in a team where you can have that conversation, whether it's in your same employer or some different situation. Because most of us rely on the workplace for our social lives, for much of our social experience. And if work is only demanding and not giving, then that's not sustainable. Susan, anything else there that I should address?
She's reporting in chat that her boss is helpful, and that sounds like she feels lucky.
Keep focusing on that, right? So it's the tiny tweak. I tend not to use the term luck. I use the term fortunate or blessed. Right? For me, luck is chance. And for me, the good things that come to me don't come to me by chance. They come to me because of choices I've made and relationships I've built. And so I would say you're fortunate, you're blessed. And that's a great place to be. And I always believe that we are all more powerful and able than we usually give ourselves credit for, which is one of the reasons I want you to claim wins, is to realize how powerful you are in the life that you've created for yourself and everything that's going well. Thank you. Fortunate, yes, I have great fortune. So if everyone on this call, the entire world's money system has gone into constraint now. I think that tremendous opportunity is going to come out of this. While I don't know exactly, I know that a great deal of my company's income has dried up. A great deal of our income comes from in-person live events where we get on an airplane and go deliver it. That's pretty much dried up. But I also believe that that the world's needs are changing and that the world needs what we have. And it's just our job to figure out what that is and how to deliver it. And our business will stay alive and thrive. And I think the same can be true at the level of an employee. Is your company is going to need you back, and if not your company, another one will. So that's my level of awareness. Alec, hello.
Yes, hello, Christopher.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. A lot of work to do. Somehow
Good.
it was more. It is more maybe than I was done previously. Let's say this way. A lot of thinking. So that's my question. So what I'm feeling that the broken economy and the channels are putting us to the situation when we will have real global hunger and social unrest, and that's the new reality what we have. And but this understanding of vision is not really my fear. Okay, it's sometimes it creates anxiety, but it's not a fear, but rather like I feel it's like awareness, and it's pushing me to start thinking out of the box again, and coming up with new things to try out and to go further. And so my question is that, so what is really driving me? Is it awareness or fear?
So let me ask you back, what is really driving you? Is it awareness or is it fear?
Awareness, I think, yes, rather. But that I would be glad not to be aware about that.
You would be glad to not be aware about what?
About this vision and this understanding.
Yeah. So I can offer you my point of view.
Please.
And that's all it is. It's my point of view. It's how I see the world, how I interpret the data about what's going on in the world.
Okay.
Here's my point of view. The level of consciousness in the world has been dramatically increasing over the last 50 plus years, which means people are operating worldwide at higher and higher and higher levels of integrity on average. So the number of people living above the poverty line is always increasing. The amount of giving in the world is always increasing. The amount of productivity in the world is always increasing. That's not to say that there are some issues with dark forces at work with things like 1%ers or with a poor distribution of food, right? So there is no shortage of enough on the planet. There's just a distribution problem, and that distribution problem is political. So that's my awareness. But for me, the more that consciousness elevates, the more that the light of humanity shines, which I believe it is, then those low consciousness forces sometimes stick out more. And so I fully expect to see lots of dark forces trying to exert themselves, right? Perhaps our concern about some of our government leaders is an example. And I think that there will be, I think that there will occasionally be plenty of social unrest in various places. I also believe that as we emerge from this crisis, the amount of brain power, innovation, and tremendous wealth on this planet available to reconfigure our economies and our systems, I believe that that's going to innovate like crazy. So I think that we get to see whichever side we want. We can see the horror, right? Or we can see the tremendous collaboration, cooperation, and integrity and courage. I choose to look at both. And I tell myself a story that the higher consciousness is winning. Mm-hmm. And that the lower consciousness keeps fighting back and showing flashes here and there, but it's not going to win. So that's my point of view.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I think, yes, that we need to be aware, yes, and to take all things into the consideration, and that will be the right thing. And also, yes, I would agree that with those dark forces, humanity still, and then people will be caring and still will be looking for how to help and care for others anyway. So from this point of view, yes, but that's the interesting time to live, let's say this way.
Right. And my job in all this is to do what I can do where I am. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about social unrest or other things in other parts of the world that I can't touch. I spend my time thinking about who can I touch, how can I serve them so that eventually they get to this place and do something about that. I want to tell a quick local story because it's near our time for this webinar, and we'll run over a little bit, but I want to honor people's time. So here's the story. I started my career in facilitation of engineers almost 35 years ago. And at that time, I would say less than 1% of engineers cared much about facilitation and collaboration. They just wanted to be given a job and sit at their machines and do it. And today, we have engineers and programmers all over the planet who hold collaboration and pairing and facilitation in very high regard. That's a huge shift in one population in 3 decades. I see the same shift happening at levels of government and industry and everything else in terms of moving towards more natural language in contracts, moving towards contracts based more in spirit than in letter, based on mutual advantage rather than one party trying to figure out how to get the upper hand on another party. There's a huge expansion of humanity in the world of business. And that's what I keep looking at and count as a win.
That's good. Let's hope we will not lose this on our way. Let's keep very strong hold to keep it. Okay, yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So Susan, do we want to take another? Andreas, I guess we do. You're muted, Andreas. Let me see if I can help. There you go.
Now you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I asked because I'm a special situation with my team. So I'm an agile coach, and I have a newly formed team. Some people are sitting in another country, some people are sitting here, and they have problems to work together and to get a good relationship. And I already bought your book about teamwork as an individual skill, and I read about the 5 conversations, which I want to do with them next week, starting next week. But now we have the Corona situation, so everyone is working remotely from their home office, and now it's even more difficult. And the people are frustrated because they have meetings and they have no outcomes and endless discussions. And everyone has a reason why he can't do something, because it's to the technical situation, or it's due to some managers who did things which made them inactive. So everyone's inactive. Everyone is waiting for the other one to start with something, and the understanding in the team is not very good. And now I have to work on this, and I have to do this in a remote situation, and with people a bit under pressure because of their private situation and the children at home.
I understand.
And probably you have some advice on how to do this in a clever, smart way.
Yes. So, gosh, you and a million other team leaders and coaches are in this situation, right? So, thank you. You mentioned a book, Teamwork is an Individual Skill. Anybody on this call that would like a PDF copy of that, contact us and I'll send it to you. If I could lower the price on Amazon right now, I would. I'm not in charge of the price. I didn't publish that book, so the publisher's in charge. We are looking into lowering the price on the books that we did publish ourselves, the responsibility process. You know, all the advice that I can give you is in that book, as well as, man, you know, if you need help in remote meetings, there's lots of free stuff going around right now about remote meetings. I know Mark Kilby and Johanna Rothman are 2 people that I know and love their work. So you might look them up on LinkedIn or on the internet. And there's lots of others that I don't know as well, but there's a tremendous amount of work out there right now and a lot of free stuff on working with remote teams. The most important thing I would ask you, Andreas, is to get real clear about one thing that you want for your team. Get real clear yourself about one thing that you want. So that goes to the power of intention. So you're very aware of the situation. So you know the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And I would get very clear about, you know, what's your intention to get one thing with your team? Is it to get them to stop fighting? Is it to get them to have some compassion for each other? Is it to get them to get aligned on what they're a team to do, which is our first conversation, right? Is what are we a team to do? That sometimes helps us stop operating individually and start operating collaboratively. But that's it. I would ask yourself, I would say, look at this mess I'm in. Look at all these challenges. What do I want about this? Because our tendency is to ask ourselves, what should I do? And our society has taught us to do that. And when we ask, what should I do? It takes us to shame and obligation. We're looking for somebody else's answer when we say, what should I do? We're looking around saying, what should I do? And if you really want to tap into your own creative juices, your own genius, your own inspiration, ask yourself, what do I want about this situation that I have some ability to do something about?
Okay, yeah, I thought of probably to show them the responsibility process, but then I thought, okay, maybe I offend them if I do this. So probably I start just with the conversation as you described in the book. But I would really like to point them to it and to that they get aware where they are, and then that they put blame, lay blame, and justify themselves, and instead of taking the responsibility and for their relationships and their work.
Right.
But
So you could have an informational meeting with them about it. They can find a copy of it here at responsibility.com/resources.
okay.
So responsibility.com, and resources is one of the menu navigation items.
Okay.
So they can find the responsibility process download there, and you can have a conversation. Andreas, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, the other thing is, this is a really good time to be loving your folks, even if they are afraid. Be a good time to let them know that you're concerned about them and care about them.
Okay.
So there, I gave some advice. I don't usually give advice. That's
okay.
what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. Take care. Susan, time for us to close out?
I believe so.
Okay.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, it has been awesome. Thank you very much. So please leave us feedback in the chat. I want to hear a couple of things. Number one, what value are you taking away from this today? How was this meaningful or valuable, or how did it benefit you? And number two, what ways do you see that we can improve what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're reaching people? We'd love to have that feedback. I hope you'll take some wins from today, and I hope you will consider following and liking us. We are Response Pro on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Response Pro is RESPONSPRO, Response Pro. And of course, you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and follow me as well, Christopher Avery. Thank you very much. We are going to do this again next week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time, 10:05 Central to 10:55 Central. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your togetherness. Thank you for your freedom, choice, and power. And Susan, thank you for your producing.
Oh, sure. We're having another session Monday at 10:05
Central.
If you're Central Time, US. If you are feeling anxious, this is a great place to calm down. That's what it does for me. Thank you so much, Christopher. This was fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you, Susan. Bye, everybody.